Now here's a simultaneous equation, okay? And sometimes you get them in paper 2, in which you're having to use your calculator. So obviously, paper 1, don't need to use your calculator, so it won't be as complex. So what we've got here is just somebody's making costumes for a school show. You make 2 cloaks and 3 dresses, and that uses up 9.6 meters of clothing. So write in an equation. So what we do is we just think of it's 2 cloaks and 3 dresses. So we're going to make cloaks C and we're going to make dresses D. Okay, so they're unknowns, as it were. Okay, but we know that 2 of them, 2 cloaks plus 3 dresses, that is equal to 9.6. Okay, and Charlie the next day makes 3 cloaks and 4 dresses, and that is going to be 13.5. So that is again 3C plus 4D equals 13.5. So that's, you got the equation. So you're essentially just use the numbers given to you, and they'll either tell you what you're going to use for the actual letter, or you just think about just taking the first letter of the word. Now we're wanting to work out how much is required, okay, to make 1 cloak and a dress. So what we do is we're going to use these are 2 equations, and we're going to try and solve them simultaneously. So that's why they're called simultaneous equations. So we're going to say 2C plus 3D equals 9.6, and 3C plus 4D equals 13.5. Sorry, 13.3. Okay, and we're going to call that's going to be, that's a first equation, and that's your second equation. Now what we want to do is get rid of one of the unknowns. So we're going to either get rid of C or we're going to get rid of D. Okay, and that's called scaling, because we want either the C's in both equations to equal the same, or the D's in both equations to equal the same. Okay, now I'm just going to get rid of the C's. So to do that, we're going to try and get each equation so they've got the same number of C's. So I'm just going to times this equation by 3, because 3 times 2C will get 6C. So I'm just going to times that equation by 2. So essentially you're timesing it by the other equation's coefficient. Okay, so what we've then got, I'll change my colour. So what we've then got is we've now got 6C. 3 times 3 is 9, and it's D. Okay, and 9.6 times 3, so I'm just going to do that here. 9.6 times 3. Okay, so that is 3 times 6, 18. 3 times 9 is 27, plus a 1 is 28. That equals 28.8. Okay, so this is equation, call that equation 3, and we then still need to get your equation 2 and times that by 2. Okay, so that gives you 6C, that's plus, and that's going to be 8D equals, so we've got 13.3, and that's going to be times 2, and that is going to be 26.6. So equals 26.6. Right, so we've got our 2 equations, in which what we can then do is if we actually just subtract equation 4 away from equation 3. So if we go equation 4 from 3, what we've actually got there, okay, we've got 6C minus 6C is nothing. 9D minus D is D. 28.8 minus 26.6, and that's 2.2. So we've actually worked out it's 2.2, okay, and this is going to be in meters squared, so you end up wanting your answers in the actual correct units. But we've still to work out what D is, so if we have a wee look at back to equation 1, we can then say, well, you've got 2C plus 3 times 2.2 equals 9.6. So we've got 2c, so 3 times 2.2. Okay, that's 6.6. That should be plus, equals 9.8. Okay, so what we've got is we want to subtract 6.6 from each side. Okay, so we subtract 6.6 from each side. So we're stuck with 2c equals 9.6 minus 6.6. That'll give you 3. Okay, so 6.6 taken from both sides, and then we'll just divide both sides by 2, so that's going to be c equals 1.5. So we've actually got the values for c and d. Now you could actually put them into the equations and you'll get the correct answer. So what we're wanting to do is we can just word it like cloak, because c stands for cloak, equals 1.5 meters squared, and dress, and this is where you get your final mark from, equals 2.2 meters squared. And that's your final answer.